Do you avoid wearing low-cut clothing or tying up your hair out of fear that sagging in your neck will be noticeable? Discover the $2 oil that eliminates turkey neck forever. At the end, I will reveal how to apply it correctly on your skin to obtain the maximum of its benefits. Let's begin. Why does something so simple work? This is where everything changes. It works because it penetrates directly into the dermis of the neck, the thinnest area with the least collagen in the entire body, even more than the eye area, an exceptionally high concentration of a specific fatty acid that stimulates collagen production. As a result, it activates the synthesis of type 1 and type 3 collagen in fibroblasts that were practically inactive, and at the same time restores the lipid barrier that keeps the skin firm, hydrated, and structurally supported from within. And this is not something new. In fact, here comes another detail that few people know. Ancient Chinese physicians already used it during the Tang Dynasty to treat sagging in the neck and jaw. Later, physicians of the Korean court documented it in the Donggui Bogum, one of the most important medical works in their history, as a specific treatment for skin that loses firmness with age. But in addition, there are lesser known records within traditional Japanese medicine where geishas used it not only on the face, but especially on the neck because they understood something key. The neck is the first place where age becomes evident, even when the face still looks young. Even modern science has confirmed it. A peer-reviewed study published in the International Journal of Cosmetic Science showed statistically significant improvements in firmness, elasticity, and collagen density in just 10 weeks of nightly use. Write the word oil if you are committed to a radical change in your skin. Now let's understand the problem from the root. The neck ages faster for 3 key reasons. First, it has up to 40% less subcutaneous fat than the face, which means less support against gravity. Second, it produces much less natural oil, so its protective barrier is weaker. And third, it is in constant motion. We turn and bend the neck hundreds of times a day, which accelerates collagen wear. But if we go even deeper, these 3 reasons do not act in isolation. They amplify each other. Less fat means less structural cushioning, which makes each movement have a greater impact on collagen and elastin fibers. In turn, a weaker skin barrier allows greater transepidermal water loss, which makes the skin thinner, more fragile, and much more prone to marking with any repetitive fold. And when you add movement on thinner and dehydrated skin, the deterioration accelerates exponentially. But there is a 4th factor that is rarely talked about: modern posture. The constant use of the phone, what is now known as tech neck, keeps the neck tilted forward for hours, generating repetitive folds that end up turning into deep wrinkles. And here is a critical detail that most people ignore. When you keep your neck tilted forward, you are not only folding the skin, you are compressing the internal tissues, reducing blood circulation and the supply of oxygen to the area. This means fewer nutrients for fibroblasts, which are precisely the cells responsible for producing collagen. In addition, this posture generates a silent cumulative effect. Every time you look down, the skin folds in the same points. Over time, those folds stop being temporary and become permanent, forming increasingly marked horizontal lines. But that is not all. The forward posture also weakens the platysma muscle, a superficial muscle band that runs along the neck and plays a key role in the firmness of this area. When this muscle loses tone, the skin loses even more support and begins to sag more easily. And there is another factor that further worsens the situation: accumulated sun exposure. The neck is usually one of the most forgotten areas when applying sunscreen, which causes damage from UV radiation, collagen degradation, and the appearance of spots, all at the same time. Let's add to this oxidative stress, glycation, damage caused by excess sugar in the diet, and the natural loss of collagen with age, and we have the perfect storm. As a result, the skin becomes thinner, loses elasticity, and begins to sag, forming the typical bands and wrinkles of turkey neck. Subscribe to the channel to continue learning more about the health of your skin. And this is where most creams fail, because although they promise a lot, they actually stay on the surface. They act at a very superficial level on the outermost layer of the skin without really reaching the dermis, which is where the underlying problem occurs: the loss of collagen, structure, and support. That is why many times you can apply them for weeks or even months, and the only thing you notice is a momentary sensation, but no real change in firmness. In addition, many of these creams are formulated with silicones or polymers that create a kind of film on the skin. That film reflects light in a certain way, visually smooths wrinkles, and gives a feeling of smoother skin almost immediately. But that is all it is, an optical and temporary effect. As soon as you wash the skin, it disappears. There is no regeneration, there is no reconstruction, there is no biological change. It is like smoothing a wrinkled fabric with your hand without repairing the material. It looks better for a moment, but the structure remains damaged. This oil does. And it does so because it works in a completely different way. It is composed of 85% oleic acid, which is not a foreign ingredient for the body, quite the opposite. It is one of the main components of the natural lipid barrier of the skin. That barrier is what maintains hydration, protects against external aggressions, and largely supports the structural integrity of the tissue. Over time, that barrier weakens. The skin begins to lose water constantly, becomes thinner, more fragile, and collagen, which needs a hydrated and stable environment to be maintained, begins to degrade faster than it regenerates. That is when the problem becomes visible. But when you apply this oil, something very interesting happens. The skin does not perceive it as an external agent, but as something familiar. It recognizes it, integrates it, and absorbs it much more easily than most cosmetic products. And in doing so, it begins to rebuild that barrier from within, restoring a much more favorable environment for regeneration. And here a mechanism comes in that is almost never explained, but is key. Oleic acid not only hydrates, it also acts as a true penetration vehicle. That is, it facilitates that other active compounds cross the skin barrier and reach deeper layers. This means that it not only works by itself, but it can also enhance any other well-chosen ingredient it is combined with. That is why, when used correctly, we are not just talking about hydrating the skin, but about modifying the internal environment where the cells work. And when that environment improves, the cells respond. The result? The dermis recovers water volume, becomes more flexible, denser, and fibroblasts, which are often slowed down or almost inactive with age, become active again and begin to produce new collagen progressively, and there is more. This oil not only stimulates reconstruction, it also helps slow down destruction. It contains polyphenols-capable enzymes, which are responsible for degrading collagen, especially when the skin is exposed to the sun or subjected to constant mechanical stress, as occurs in the neck. But in addition, it provides antioxidants such as vitamin E, which fulfill a silent but fundamental function to neutralize free radicals. These radicals are unstable molecules that damage cellular structures day after day, accelerating aging without you noticing it immediately. Reducing that damage is key if what you are looking for is not only to improve, but to maintain the results over time. That is, it not only rebuilds, it also protects what you already have. The mentioned study measured precisely both things, an increase in collagen production and a decrease in its degradation. And that combination is what truly makes the difference, because it is not very useful to produce more collagen if at the same time it is being destroyed at the same rate. After 10 weeks, the results showed real improvements in firmness, elasticity, and density. We are not talking only about visual perception, but about measurable changes. There was even some lifting of the tissue under the chin and a visible reduction of the bands in the neck, something that is normally associated with much more invasive treatments. And this is where the uncomfortable comparison comes back. An oil that costs only $2 versus a lifting that can reach $15,000. But it is also important to be clear and honest. They do not work the same, nor do they seek exactly the same thing. A lifting offers an immediate change, visible from the first moment, because it repositions the tissues mechanically. This oil, on the other hand, works with the natural processes of the body. It does not force the result, it builds it, and that takes time. Now, precisely because of that, it has an advantage that is often overlooked. It does not alter your structure, it does not generate dependency, and it does not involve surgical risks. In early or moderate stages, it may not only improve the appearance, but also significantly slow down the progression of the problem. And in some cases, when used consistently and accompanied by good habits, it may even make a more aggressive intervention unnecessary or postpone it for years. Before revealing how to apply it correctly on your neck, I want to propose something. If you are truly committed to starting today, write in the comments, "committed." And now we arrive at the most important part. What to do? Get 100% pure Camellia seed oil, cold pressed, also called Tsubaki oil. But pay attention to this. Avoid refined versions with added fragrances or mixed with other cheap oils. Quality here is everything, because this is where many people make a mistake without realizing it. They think all oils are the same, and they are not. A refined oil has gone through chemical and thermal processes that destroy a large part of its active compounds, especially the antioxidants and polyphenols that are key to protecting collagen. And if it is also diluted with other lower quality oils, the effect is reduced even more. That is why, although it may seem like a minor detail, choosing a truly pure oil makes a huge difference in the medium and long-term results. The process is simple, but the real difference is in how you do it. You start by applying 3 to 4 drops on your hands, just enough without excess. Then you warm it by rubbing your palms together for a few seconds until you feel that the oil becomes lighter and easier to spread. That small gesture is not accidental. By warming it, you make it easier to distribute and for the skin to receive it more evenly. Then you bring it to the neck, from the collarbone to the jaw, always in an upward direction. This point is key. It is not just a technical matter, it is a way of working in favor of gravity, not against it. You use both hands with firm but gentle pressure, without dragging the skin harshly. It is a controlled, conscious movement, almost as if you were re-educating the tissue. And at the end, you incorporate your knuckles under the jaw, sliding them upward. This gesture helps stimulate the area where sagging usually accumulates and where the facial contour often begins to blur. But beyond these steps, what really matters is not the technique itself, but the intention with which you do it. It is not about applying the oil quickly before going to sleep, like just another obligation of the day. It is about turning those minutes into real stimulation of the tissue. Because when you massage correctly, you are not only spreading a product, you are activating microcirculation, promoting lymphatic drainage, and creating the necessary conditions for nutrients to reach better the cells that have to regenerate the skin. If you pay attention, there is a very clear sign that you are doing it right. The skin begins to feel slightly warmer. It is not a coincidence. That increase in temperature indicates that circulation has been activated, and that simple change improves tissue oxygenation and enhances the effect of the oil much more than it seems. In addition, you can add an extra step that makes a difference over time. Small, gentle pinches along the jaw for about 30 seconds. It is what is known as manual lifting. It may seem like a minimal gesture, even insignificant, but it has a profound effect. It mechanically stimulates fibroblasts, those cells responsible for producing collagen, and helps improve tissue tension progressively. You will not notice it from one day to the next, but with consistency, it adds up. And if you want to take it one step further, there are small details that multiply the results. For example, applying the oil on slightly damp skin right after the shower greatly improves its absorption. The oil acts as a seal, trapping that moisture inside the skin and keeping it hydrated for longer. That simple change can make a noticeable difference in how the neck looks and feels over the weeks. You can also take advantage of that moment to correct something that is often overlooked: posture. Keeping your neck straight while performing the massage, avoiding tilting your head downward, not only improves the technique, it also trains the body to get out of that constant habit that contributes so much to sagging. This whole process should not take you more than 3 to 5 minutes. And although it may seem little, it is more than enough if it is done consciously and consistently. Here, the one who wins is not the one who does it longer in a single day, but the one who repeats it every day without fail. It is that sum of small daily stimuli that ends up generating a visible change. And here is the key that almost nobody wants to accept: consistency. Because this is the point where most people give up. Not because it does not work, but because they expect immediate results. We are used to quick solutions, to changes from one day to the next, but the skin does not respond that way. Collagen regeneration is a slow, silent, and cumulative process. It happens beneath the surface without warning until one day you simply notice it. In the first 30 days, the most common thing is to perceive better hydration, more flexible skin, less tightness. Between 60 and 90 days, visible changes in firmness, texture, and in how the skin behaves when it moves begin to appear. And if you continue beyond that point, that is when something even more interesting happens. The skin not only looks different, it feels different, more dense, more resistant, more alive, as if it had recovered part of its internal structure. Click here. See you in the next video.